Okay, well, we've been watching for the last week or plus, and I actually talked about the fires last week. And we've been watching all kinds of horrific footage. We've been seeing reporting. This is one of those situations up in LA where the news is showing a natural disaster, and as bad as it looks, it's
worse.
even worse. Where usually they make things look worse than they are, or they try to get more viewers and they try to, sensationalize it, where I got to tell you, it appears that these LA fires are even worse than they look. And even putting the politics aside, just looking at the actual fire, actually what happened to people, what happened to homeowners, what happens to people in their cars during these horrific fires. I think it's really important to be prepared. So we have Michael from Cargo here to talk about some things you can do to prepare in case there is a massive fire. Cargo, cases and rugged gear outfitters in El Cajon. Go to cargostores.com to check them out. Or if you want to see them in person, go to 423 Broadway in El Cajon. If you need to protect your gear while you're on the go, look no further. Cargo has the perfect case for you. From trusted American brands like Pelican, SKB, Seahorse, Underwater Kinetics, and S3 to top-tier imports like Canadian-made Nanook and Italian-crafted HPRC. They've got it all. With over 2,000 models to choose from, you'll find a case for everything, whether it's firearms, camera gear, drones, watches, or whatever else you need to keep safe. And here's the best part. Cargo keeps hundreds of cases in stock and ready to go. Plus, they offer custom foam inserts, connectivity solutions, and even branded cases to make it uniquely yours. So if you need to protect it and you want to customize it, check out Cargo. They are your place. Use GOR for 10% off their website and mention Gun Owners Radio or SDCGO at the store for a discount. Great products, great prices, and uncommonly good service, cases, and rugged gear outfitters. Michael, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
So have you been paying attention to the news coverage of what's going on with LA?
Oh, yeah. How can you not, right?
Yeah.
So, I remember back in 2007, we had our fires here that were pretty major. And so, yeah, it's just very reminiscent of all that, right? And what could you have done, or should you have done, or should you be doing? Those are all those, things that you can't always, you can prepare for them, but just most people don't really think about it until it's, time. And so there's
and it's horrible. And it's hard for me, or maybe most people, to kind of imagine, well, gee, how does a fire just overtake a house so quickly? If you've ever been out camping and you've struggled to build a fire, it just doesn't make sense that a fire swoops in, takes people off guard. Next thing you know, they're in big, big trouble. But that's the fact. That really, truly is what happens.
right.
I had I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but I lost my home when I was a kid. When I was 8, my house burned down. I will tell you, nothing like what the people in LA are going through, right? If you think about it, yes, my stuff was traumatic, right? We lost pets, we lost everything. I was clothed by the Red Cross. I looked like I was at a little house in the prairie wearing dresses in the 80s. But if you imagine, not only was it traumatic, like what I experienced, now you have, your neighborhoods around you go to stores. There's nothing on the shelves. It's just devastation, and you're not the only one. It's you and it's everybody.
Yeah.
It's everybody.
Well, entire neighborhoods were completely devastated.
Yeah.
You're seeing people who absolutely felt betrayed by elected officials.
Yep.
People who probably were supportive of these elected officials 6 months ago now absolutely feel betrayed by them. You really, truly have to take control of your own safety and understand that you are your own first responder. What are top 3? Let's do this. Let's talk about the top 3 things that people can do to be prepared for a fire here in San Diego or anywhere.
Right. So, at the tail end of it is probably being prepared to evacuate and, you get your bug out bag basically, or, take advantage of your get home bag if you already have that in your car, and just all the precautions in terms of, what are your important documents, your pets, medications, and I think primarily, having water available to take with you and some of those things, right? And so just so, like you said, so you're not dependent on the Red Cross or any more than you have to, right? And so that's one end of it, and then at home, regardless, which, I find astounding. I mean, I was in the service, I was a fireman there. And for me, it was just, I've got fire extinguishers everywhere, right? By every exit, by every door. So, and knowing how to use them and practicing that alone, if it's your own fire, right? I mean, in this case, this was very dependent on all the conditions, right? We had low humidity, very high winds, and once that gets started and takes off, that's very hard to mitigate, right? And so, but even in the home, or if it's a kitchen fire, and just understanding the differences of the type of fire extinguishers, pretty much all of them now are, ABC, so they can handle, solids and liquids and electrical fires, right? And that's really what, those will take care of. But there's just even other things, nuances about those that people don't think about. They're full of this powder, and if I think you're supposed to shake them periodically just to jog loose the extinguishing material so that you can put the fire out.
And check them.
And they do have an expiration date.
Yeah.
Right. Check them, and I mean primarily just make sure that the pressure's in there. Right. You're supposed to change them out every year and so forth.
Do you have like a rule? I mean, I'm kind of surprised that I a lot of people I talk to, they have they may have a fire extinguisher in their kitchen. And that's the extent of it. Where, I don't know, I think you should have at least one on each floor. You should have one in every bedroom. I don't know. Do you have a rule of thumb, or how do you know how many fire extinguishers you should have?
Right. Well, I think obviously depending on your house and your layout and so forth, but the rule of thumb is that it needs to be by an entry or an exit of the building, because the first thing you should do is try to get out. Yeah. Right. And so once you're out, now you can decide to go back in and then have it there available. You don't want it across the room to have to, fight your way through fire to get to it. Right. And so you just kind of have to come up with a plan of where's the potential, where would the fire potentially start? And, so it's hard to anticipate all the time, but nevertheless, like I say, I don't think you can have too many,
really.
Unless you lose track of.
And they're cheap. What are they, $30, $40 these days?
Not even that.
Not even that?
Right.
Not even that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the main difference between them, on the cheap ones, normally they have the plastic head on them. Those you can't recharge. The ones that have the metal ones, those you can recharge over and over. And so there's just, very basic understandings of having them. But I mean,
I have one on my Jeep. I just realized I got to look at it and make sure. I haven't checked that one in a while.
Yeah.
Does it come with the Jeep?
Those of you who know anything about my Jeep, you know that it's highly recommended. It's warranted that I have a fire extinguisher on my Jeep.
Good.
So I've never had to use it.
Good.
Cross your whatever, knock on wood, cross your fingers, dot your I's, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I just realized I have one on my Jeep. I have one on the roll bar of the Jeep, and I haven't checked that thing in years. It's probably about time. Probably about time I checked that one.
Yeah, like I said, it's cheap enough.
So what are some things? I mean, I think cargo. This is a perfect opportunity for people to evaluate their situation and probably solve a lot of their gaps in their plan by taking a visit to cargo. What are some things that cargo can provide for preparing for to have to evacuate or something like that, or what kind of preparedness things can they find at cargo?
Pretty much anything you need for a bug out bag, short of actual food or water, but we have a lot of products for water treatment, filtration, things like that, portable ones. First aid kits we have, so there's lots of that. But we can help you guys, anyone come in, and we can help you with everything from a tactical bag, attach MOLLE pouches that you can now get yourself organized with, again, first aid kits, and whether you need a knife with that, or you need there's just a whole slew of different things. The main thing, obviously, whether it's shelter, things like that, ponchos, and depending on the weather, obviously, those are all the considerations that you have to keep in mind for our climate. And everybody's situation is different, right? So, we got numerous products that would certainly go with that. Gas masks. I mean, we do carry a good line of those now, and so
what are gas masks good for? What can you actually do? Is there? There's kind of I think there's a misconception on some things that you can't do, or that you can do with gas masks that you really can't. But talk about like if you're the average person out there and you have no experience, no knowledge around gas masks, what would a person use a gas mask for?
Well, there are definitely different type of filters for them, and so there's a range of applications for that. But it's everything from dust, particulates, some that will certainly help with in a smoky situation, but they're not going to provide oxygen. So those are limitations there. And to the furthest extreme, you get an MBC type filter, which is nuclear, biological, and chemical. So if you happen to be in an area that's near either a nuclear plant or you have other situations like that, then you may want that, or a chemical spill and things, noxious gases, and it would certainly help with that. At least gets you through that.
Wow, interesting. Now, you and I have talked before. You take independence and preparation very seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you want to go into that, but you actually you do. How much do you want to go into that? Do you want to talk about that and some of the things that you do as a kind of a hobby slash? Yeah. What are some of the things that you have as someone who's prepared for a natural disaster?
Right. I mean, my first or our family's first go-to is in the case of an emergency and short of having to evacuate is basically being able to bug in, right, and hunker down. Yeah. And so you want the ability to survive any length of time, without outside resources. So obviously, stocking up on some food and clearly water, I think, is more important than anything else in that regard. But go through the exercise, flip your switch on your house and try to go through that for 2-3 days and see, how does that work out, right? And you will quickly learn what are where are your shortcomings, and trying to get that resolved. Now, we have a garden and we have some, fruit trees that we're trying, growing and trying to, supply our own food for that and not be, again, as dependent. But, when the emergency starts, you don't want to be one of those people that have to run to the grocery store to go get, basic essentials, right? And so always having some amount and a safety stock and pretty much everything so you can rotate it in and out. And that's certainly what it does. For us personally, we raise some chickens so that we have, eggs. I've been into aquaponics, and so
that's where I wanted to go. Tell people what are aquaponics?
I mean, it's in terms of food sources, right? One of them is going to be your protein, right? And I'm short of having enough land for cattle or anything else. You could certainly grow rabbits if you're okay eating that, so I grow we grow our own tilapia at home.
Wow.
And so that's we've got it's a closed loop system. Aquaponics is basically, it's like hydroponics, but rather than having to infuse the system with nutrients to feed the plants in the water system, right? So it's a garden, and the fish waste is basically what the nutrients come from to make the plants grow.
What kind of, can you eat the plants, or the plants just for the fish?
You can do either way, but I mean, you can grow vegetables there.
Oh,
Absolutely.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no.
And I mean, you don't even have to, and this, I'm sure a lot of people, most people aren't going to get as involved as you are. It's kind of a lifestyle and a hobby for you, which is awesome. But I don't think people realize just how easy it is to be prepared to hunker down for, 3 weeks.
Right.
Preparing to be in your house for 3 weeks, not that hard. It doesn't take, you don't have to have a bomb shelter,
Right.
And I've heard people say it's the 3 Bs: bullets, beans, and Band-Aids.
Okay.
Those, bullets meaning,
place to start.
yeah, really. Bullets meaning self-defense.
Sure.
Beans just being food in general. And then Band-Aids, of course, being first aid. But it's just not that hard. I mean, you can make a trip to Costco and Home Depot and pretty easily end up being prepared. And it doesn't, it'll take up a little bit of space in your garage. It's not like you need, an entire extra room or whatever to be prepared. But man, I remember when late March in 2020 when COVID hit, how many people were prepared? I remember a few years before that when all the electricity in Southern California went off for a couple days, how many people were prepared for that? Now, fortunately, that wasn't as serious as, these fires up in LA, but man, we're right in the middle of, earthquake central, you don't have to create a scenario of like, some kind of government, or invasion or whatever. I mean, these natural disasters, happen pretty regularly in Southern California. It's very, very possible. And it's just not that hard to be prepared for it.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, for natural disasters of any sort, whatever it is, whether it's a tsunami, which again, depending what part of the town you live in, you may or may not be affected, and earthquakes, I think we're all vulnerable to that. Yeah. And maybe not even directly in our own buildings and structures, but if there's road damages, I mean, if you've driven out to, El Centro or whatever, there's, there's enough bridges between here and there that if any of that collapsed, if it were to cut off, trucks coming into town, at best, I think on average, a city has about 3 days supply for that population. Jeez. That's in the stores. Okay. So once that's gone, if you don't have it already, it's over. And if you have to, weigh it out for, a week or two, then that may be pretty, challenging for some people. But
the 8 would, a major earthquake, the 8 would absolutely collapse. I mean, like you're talking about the bridges. There's one major bridge I can think of, right by the immigration checkpoint. Mm-hmm. That would, it wouldn't take a whole lot for that thing to be wiped out, and you're done. Like there's nothing. You're not connected to Arizona if that thing goes down.
Right. And so, and for that same purpose, right? I mean, if the power goes out, right now the ATMs don't work, right? Now you can't get cash. So having some cash available is you can't get gas at the gas stations. They won't pump. So there's all these different elements that are certainly going to be, a showstopper for so many people. And, and I think about that every time I'm driving around. I look at my gas tank and I'd like to keep it full, especially before a weekend, maybe, and things of that nature. Just, keeping it full is better than always running on empty, right?
I know. Gosh.
Having a couple cans of gas with some stabilizer in it, just in case. Rotate that out periodically. I mean, there's just very basic things that you can do that may save you on someday, right?
I think you've really truly become an adult. You've really truly gained wisdom in life, and have kind of made that leap from boy to child. When you stop telling yourself, "I'll just stop for gas in the morning." when you finally go, you know what? I'm stopping for gas tonight. I'm filling up tonight. Right. I'm not going to get gas tomorrow morning.
I'm feeling very cold out right now.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, our forecast right now, we're going to be getting some wind out here, right? And so we're kind of subject to not an unusual situation, and so it's coming, right? And so, it doesn't mean there's going to be fires coming with it. But if it does happen, then that's when it's going to get ugly, and might as well have your tank full of gas so that you can head out, right, and be ready. And again, like with your pets. In fact, this morning I heard something on the radio that somebody else's show I thought it was kind of interesting, and they were talking about their pets, right? If you have dogs, is that the importance of having your dog crate trained. Being able that they are willingly going in a crate, whether they like it or not. And especially if you have to depend on a stranger to have to go rescue your dog. I mean, if they already don't want to go in there, they're not going to go in for another person. So I just thought that was an interesting concept, and having a leash available and all those things just ready to go so that, even they are, taken care of.
There you go. All right, we're gonna do a roundtable discussion. I want you to stick around, and we're gonna ask Sam we're gonna try to stump my nephew.
Yep.
And then we're gonna have a roundtable about a couple of things, and I want you to stick around and participate in the discussion. You got time to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Before we end this segment, though, what's your favorite thing in your shop? What's one thing? It doesn't have to be necessarily a prepper thing or something on the retail side, whatever. What's like one thing you're just like, man, this is cool. I love this little thing or big thing or whatever it is.
Oh man,
Put you on the spot. It's like it's like picking a favorite child.
Right. It is. I mean, again, everything that's there, it's something that I've researched and found to be of value. So it just runs the gamut right there, right? I mean, our freeze dryers from Harvest Right are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Just again, our selection of cases that, I mean, even for that, for a evacuation, right? Being able to have things in a case that you can just grab and go, you're ready, you're ready. And so, just hard to say.
What knives do you carry again? You carry?
We carry Gerber, so that's a bigger line that we carry. We carry a couple other brands. Mora is another one. They're pretty popular, and they kind of made their name in the dive industry. So they are well known for their rust proofness and ability to hold the blade, the sharpness, and a few others. But
Cool.
primarily those.
Well, check them out. Cargo. What's your address again, Michael?
We're at 423 Broadway in El Cajon.
Which is the old location for?
The El Cajon Gun Exchange.
There you go.
People still come in looking for them periodically, but that's not a problem.
And check out cargostores.com or go see them again on 423 Broadway in El Cajon and use GOR for 10% off their website or mention Gun Owners Radio or SDCGO at their store. So cool. Michael, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm Michael from Gun Owners Radio. If you liked what you saw, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and make a comment. Help us out. Go to gunownersradio.com. Thanks for watching.